Alright, YouTube, the healthcare reform bill, so-called, has been abandoned by the GOP at the behest of Trump. He decided to strong-arm Paul Ryan, who is the one who actually designed it, say, no, it's not going to pass, so I'm not going to let you put it through, and it gets stopped and I look like a total idiot. Now then comes Trump's negotiating skills, which is what he probably was slavering away and drooling all over himself waiting to use. What do you think's going to happen in regards to the healthcare? Paul Ryan wrote it up. Paul Ryan, the insurance companies, the same ones that wrote up the AHCA, and some other so-called moderate Republicans, which means retarded-ass neocons. Trump should ignore them completely, work with Rand Paul, design something else, and force it through. Throw some crumbs to the Democrats. At least they'll be willing to work with you on something that intrinsic. By the way, I'm going to say something here, and some Republicans won't like it. The House GOP is retarded. People like Paul Ryan are complete morons. They don't know what they're doing. Actually, they know. Some of them do. Okay, I'll take that back. Paul Ryan knows what he's doing. He's corrupt. He knows that he's writing a bill that actually won't solve any of the fundamental issues of the AHCA other than taking the mandate away. Getting rid of the mandate's fine, but that's just one problem. This bill wouldn't cause any additional competition. This was one of Trump's campaign platforms. Oh, we need to inject competition back into the healthcare system. That fundamentally is what takes care of the cost. All the other stuff, we can dick around all day over exactly what we're going to do, but if we don't put more competition into the insurance market, it won't matter what form the ultimate bill actually takes because it'll remain expensive. It will remain too expensive for anybody in the lower class to afford, most people in the middle and upper middle class to afford, and even some people who are more wealthy to afford. If you're in some state where there's no competition at all, and the cheapest plan is thousands and thousands of dollars a month, do you think anybody in the middle class is signing up for that? Nope. Not going to happen. They'll go without insurance. Worst case scenario, they end up moving outside of that state because that state's stupid. And the federal government is causing it to act stupid. That's the problem. It's a problem we've had here in Vermont. No competition within the state. Vermont has its own exchange, and it's a corporate monopoly. Yeah, I wonder why it's expensive. Monopolies don't work. We used to understand this. The GOP used to understand this, 100 years ago. So here's what Trump needs to do. He needs to say, okay, well, this one was a failure because some of the Republicans refused to support it. Why don't we just inject some more competition and take this retarded-ass mandate that they've developed now under Ryan, which is basically if you lapse, you end up paying a private company temporarily instead of paying permanently to the government for not having insurance. Why don't we scrap that? That'll help get people like Rand on board, and it'll allow it to pass through the House and Senate. That's number one. And number two, something that creates more competition. Do away with the idea of in-state insurance markets and just have one insurance market for the whole country. Well, in what other realm, even in corporatism, does it make sense to have things partitioned by state? Well, you can do business in Kentucky, but you can't do business in Kansas. You can do business in New Hampshire, but you can't do business in Massachusetts. Well, where else has that worked? It's a lack of competition. It's the most anti-capitalist thing you could possibly imagine. I don't know what was going through Trump's head when he even decided to push on the Senate to pass it. Honestly, I don't know what was... I think he probably didn't even bother to read what was being written there. He probably didn't even bother to understand its tenets. He just assumed that those people he had dictated to his basic ideas had drawn something up that formed his basic ideas into a bill. Well, Trump needs to not do that again. He needs to... If I were him, I would keep Rand by my side basically 24/7. Hey, Rand, you want to sleep in the White House? You want to come to the Mar-a-Lago? Okay. Bring your wife and kids. It'll be a great time. That's what I would do if I were Donald Trump. He needs to listen to the one person in the Republican Party with significant youth appeal and common sense. I would have to stand with Rand on this one. And I can't support the current GOP bill. I'm glad it's not going to pass. Yes, we're kicking the can down the road. Trump warned, oh, well, Obamacare could collapse any day now if we don't pass a replacement. I agree with that. There's nothing wrong with him saying that. He's right. It will, because there's no competition. But his reform doesn't solve that problem. It solves some of these other secondary problems. It doesn't solve the problem of lack of competition between these companies across state lines. Therein lies the fundamental issue with the entire AHCA. It's why it's expensive. It's why it's driving insurance companies under. It's why it's not capable of being used by a lot of people in the population. That needs to be fixed. Inject the free market back into healthcare. That's all you have to do, back into the insurance companies. Make them compete across state lines. Some company, the exchange here in Vermont then, would be able to offer to people out of state. It'd be competing with them potentially. And their companies could compete here and offer insurance as well. Federalize the entire program. If you're going to have any level of centrality in it at all, you can't partition it by states and have some company, well, we only operate in California and Nevada. And that company only operates in Montana and Wyoming. And this company supplies only Vermont. It doesn't make any sense. What sense does it make? That's what's causing the cost to be high. So as far as this failing, it's not a slap in the face to the GOP unless the GOP is Paul Ryan and Mitch McConnell and a few of these others. They're the ones that suffer. It's not Trump care. It never was. Trump didn't have a significant hand in designing this. It's Ryan care. When the corporate media comes out and says, oh, ho, chuckle, chuckle, oh, Trump defeated on healthcare, he came out to support a bill that he himself had not written. He's the chief executive. He's not part of the legislature. His only crime in this was not listening to Rand Paul and similar individuals who told him, we're not going to sign off on it. We're not going to pass it through the Senate in its current form. It needs more work. Paul Ryan and the others, in their haste to get it done as quickly as possible, decided to craft a bill that they thought would just eke by, but ultimately got defeated. And Trump is going to need to use Paul Ryan as the fall guy for this. I would hate to be in Paul Ryan's shoes right now. Trump comes out and says to shelf the bill. It wasn't Ryan who did that. Ryan didn't say, oh, well, it may not pass the Senate, so we're just not going to put it on the table for a vote because it's probably doomed. Oh, it was Donald Trump that did that. Hey, Ryan, he calls him up. Ring, ring. Hey, Paul, I need you to do something. You know that health care bill that you crafted? It's not going to pass the Senate, so fucking shelve it. Are you sure, Mr. Trump? Are you sure, Mr. President? Yeah, I'm sure about that. Yeah, now he gets to use Ryan as a fall guy. I told Ryan he needed to rework the bill, says Trump a few days later. I told him that he should have caused more... I thought it was going to have cross-state competition. He lied to me or something like that. It's going to be funny to watch the fallout from that now, isn't it? Who do you think the Republicans are going to side with? The neocons will side with Ryan and everybody else will side with Trump, and the neocons will bend knee and they'll negotiate with him. And then Rand Paul will sit back there and smirk probably if Trump has the foresight to work with him. Should have had Rand Paul drop the whole bill. But it's good that it got defeated because it wouldn't have worked. It wouldn't have done anything. It wouldn't have made the AHCA any better. It would have been Obamacare light. Can we stop having this retarded conversation and just pass something that actually works? Like, privatize the whole healthcare system so that the cost drops like a rock so you don't need to worry about the middle class purchasing it? And then provide rudimentary subsidized plans for those who, aren't on that income tier. It'd be a lot cheaper. It'd be a hell of a lot cheaper. What about competitive drug pricing? Where's that in their so-called reform bill? Where is it? I'm not seeing it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it does contain passages to that effect. If it does, that's great. That's another thing they should retain. But switching the mandate from you will pay, if you don't have insurance, you'll pay 2% income tax in addition to pay to help subsidize the AHCA for people who don't work or they don't have high wages or whatever. Or they've got some low-level subsidized plan or they're Medicaid or something. Okay, you're going to take that, which, by the way, is the only thing that's propping up Obamacare fiscally and keeping it semi-solvent so it doesn't utterly collapse the next day. You take that, getting rid of it now, and then you have a new mandate, which is that if you have insurance, but then all of a sudden the insurance company jacks your rates up and you lapse because you can't afford it anymore, we're going to make you pay, what was it, 50% or 10% or something, to the insurance company. The government is attempting to mandate that you pay for a service you're not obtaining to a private company. Absolutely unconstitutional. Only somebody like Paul Ryan could have thought that up. Didn't come from Trump. Guaranteed. Came from Paul Ryan. He wrote that section himself. Nobody else could have possibly dreamt up something so dystopian as Paul Ryan. It was him. This is Ryan Care. I'm glad it's been defeated. Take another crack at it. People are much more willing to wait for something that works than to sit there and deal with something that doesn't and get it delivered fast. That's like saying, oh, well, we can get you your food in the next 5 minutes if you're willing to eat a pile of fried shit, or you can wait 15 minutes and you can get something that's actually food. Which one are you going to do? You probably walk out of the restaurant because you realize they're nuts. But if you have to choose one or the other, you're probably going to wait for the real food. Not going to settle there and get your food quicker only to find out it's literally fried shit. That's what Paul Ryan is offering the country. And it's Ryan Care. It's not Trump Care yet. He never put his hand to it, really. It's a neocon plan from the GOP and Congress. That's about all.